start off obviously with this biggest news story. I think it's not the biggest because I think every major news outlet has covered it, but it hasn't covered it. Uh, it, like I mean, no, it's there's a news cycle, so these things come in and then they go out, and nobody knows about it. But I think this should be shocking for everyone. There is a girl, a woman, a young woman, 26 years old. Anika Atik is her name. She has just been sentenced to death by a court in Pakistan. A court in Pakistan has sentenced a woman to death over allegedly blasphemous messages sent over WhatsApp and Facebook. Anika Atik, 27, was found guilty and given a death sentence by a court in Rawalpindi on Wednesday after complaint was registered against her under Pakistan's draconian cybercrime and blasphemy law. According to the charge sheet, Atik, 26, met her accuser, a fellow Pakistani, online in 2019 through a mobile gaming app, and the pair began corresponding over WhatsApp. He accused her of sending blasphemous caricatures of Holy Prophet, aka Momo, making remarks about holy personages on WhatsApp and using on WhatsApp and using her Facebook account to transmit blasphemous material to other accounts. In doing so, she deliberately and intentionally defiled sacred righteous personalities and insulted their religious beliefs. Now, Atik has denied these charges. She stated that she's a practicing Muslim and says that she believed the complainant intentionally dragged her into a religious discussion so he could collect evidence and take revenge after she refused to be friendly with him, which most likely means that he was trying to,
Make a
he was
move.
trying to make advances. Yeah. So she probably rejected his advances. And he got angry, and then somehow they started a conversation over religion. And maybe she said something about something, because it's not really that difficult to understand the misogyny and the human rights abuses in Islam. So it's quite easy for people to see that, and especially in a country like Pakistan, which is which is so hypocritical to its core, that these very people, this very guy, his name is Hasnat. Let me see what his name is. I think it's relevant. We're trying to find information on him too. I think he deserves to get a little bit famous too. His name is Hasnat Farooq. Hasnat is it's not a very common name, but you guys might know it. Hasnat Khan was the lover of late Princess Diana back in the 90s. So we always say this. I always say this in my Urdu streams as well. Please don't be complacent. Please don't commit blasphemy while you are in Pakistan, because this thing can happen. So what he did, he took WhatsApp screenshots, forwarded to the police. Police confiscated her phone, and apparently they're saying that it checked out. So she had stored a lot of blasphemous content in her phone or whatnot. So that's what police is saying. But we can't really go by the police. Let me give you a little bit of a rundown. So there are currently 88 people incarcerated in Pakistan over blasphemy charges. Half of them have been sentenced to death, although these death sentences have never been carried out thanks to the international pressure, and this is what we're trying to do. So we want you guys to there's a link in the description. Please click on that link and sign this petition. Ignore the photo. Unfortunately, we just realized this is a Bollywood actress. This is not the this is not the intended person.
She's the wife of a Bollywood actress, yeah.
Okay, so she's
Actor,
the wife of
Shahid Kapoor's wife, yeah.
Okay, so she's Shahid Kapoor, Bollywood actor's wife. But this guy obviously claims that he saw the photo on a Facebook profile of Anika Atik. But Anika Atik has been incarcerated since 2020. Anyway, so it doesn't matter. She's still a human being. So you need to please sign that petition. And also, you need to tweet this hashtag, Save Anika. I know a lot of you guys are not on Twitter, but please, for anything, if you want anything, please create an account on Twitter. Delete Facebook if you have to. But Twitter is where we actually managed to create international pressure. Twitter is what Pakistani government follows. Twitter is what United Nations follows. Twitter is what the US government follows. And if you manage to make some noise there, if you manage to get 1,000 retweets under specific hashtag, it gets noticed by the media, not Facebook, not YouTube. I mean, this excerpt is going to be seen by 5 or 10,000 people, but that's not going to get picked up by anyone. But if you do it on Twitter, that's where it gets picked up by influential people. So please go to Twitter. I know if you don't like it, just for that reason, go there, set up an account, follow Nuria, follow me, and make sure you have this tag Save Anika, and make sure you tag the US Embassy in Islamabad and the UN Human Rights. These are the bare absolute minimum. We are so disorganized, we can't even get that off the ground. So this is bare minimum. Okay, now let's get back to the young woman. So this woman is accusing that this guy Hasnat Farouk was actually trying to make advances on her, and when she rejected him, he dragged her in this religious conversation where she might have said something that can be perceived as blasphemy. Now, this is not an isolated incident. We have tons of these incidents where people have been set up, people have been people just even to settle some scores, personal scores. Christians and Hindus usually have been on the wrong end of the stick. Christians usually have been forced. So many documented incidents that have been covered in the Pakistani government is very well aware of. And Ghalib Kamal would tell you the actual details of that, has actually told the details, where there's a successful Christian businessman, some Muslims will go and say, hey, sell us this on so-and-so price, highly deflated prices, and otherwise, all we have to do is just say that you have committed blasphemy, and then and the mob will take care of the rest. We know last month this Sri Lankan guy was lynched by a mob, by his own factory workers, just because he removed a sticker which he didn't even know what was written on it. This guy was killed this guy killed his own bank manager, who happened to be a Muslim. This guy killed his own father for not praying in the morning. This guy on the very left used to accuse people of blasphemy on Facebook, but then someone did the same to him and he was beaten to the pulp and barely got away with his life. And he was saying that, no, I'm a Muslim. These blasphemers have accused me of blasphemy, etc., etc. So that is what is the nature. And oh, by the way, the guy on the far right as well, he was killed by another Muslim as well over blasphemy. Obviously, who can forget this gentleman, Junaid Hafiz, who got his master's degree in English literature from a US university, should have stayed in America, but he wanted to do good for his country, Pakistan, went back to Multan, which is in South Pakistan, a highly conservative region, Bahauddin University, and was accused of blasphemy and has been rotting in prison since 2014. So people get accused, and with him as well, his defense says that his opponent, who was going for the same position in the university, spread that rumor that he was a blasphemer, and so people do that all the time. The point is, whether that's true or not, whether they committed some blasphemy or not, the point is, why would you have a law that can be exploited to settle personal scores? Why would you have it? Nuria, if I get angry with you, if I want to settle some sort of a score with you, what is it that in England, what law can I exploit? Can I accuse you of theft? Can I accuse you of rape or murder? Of course, I can't, because that would need some evidence behind it. But no ordinary British citizen is just going to go and murder you just because Harus Sultan has accused you of, let's say, theft or murder or whatever. But in a country like Pakistan, everyone knows. And I spoke about this. And again, I don't recommend this, but I know this is where it's headed. And some other Pakistani journalists have also started talking about this. That now there's a slogan in Urdu I popularized called "Is aag mein sab jalenge," meaning everyone will be caught in this fire. And some Pakistani journalists have started using that as well. Because who's going to be the target? Yes, you've suppressed Ahmadis, Christians, and Hindus. Now it's your turn. Now Muslims are being killed. These guys are Muslims. This girl, Anika Farouk, is a Muslim. This guy was a Muslim who was murdered. These guys are all Muslims as well. So now, and I think Abin Nawabi made a very good point. He said, if any Pakistani girl has ever said anything which is remotely sounding as blasphemous, she can be blackmailed to a point of becoming his sex slave. That's true. That is so true. I've been commenting randomly on Pakistani news stories and whatever, and I'm glad that a lot of people are resonating. We'll share some of that in a separate segment, but this time I just want to focus on that. Nuria, yes, men have exploited and pushed blackmail people at the threat of blasphemy for financial gains, but now they're doing that to exploit women as well. Look at this, and I'm ashamed of this, that this news story didn't even come under our radar. This woman, there was another woman who was arrested around the same time in 2020. Yeah, she was also arrested by a couple of guys who accused her of blasphemy. Farida is that woman's name. She was accused of tearing and burning pages containing the verses of the Holy Quran in a book, blah blah blah, whatever. Now, a case against her was registered by a man identified as Muhammad Irfan, who claimed to be a witness to the crime. Now, police also investigated the matter and found her and proceeded with charging. That shows you how uninterested this police is. So what happened? So her defense said that Farida has been falsely implicated in the case by the complainant with malafide and ulterior motives. Irfan and his friend tried to touch my client's breasts forcibly and accused her of blasphemy when she stopped him. The accused lady took the book in the same condition from the Muqaddas Oraks box. So she was given a book, and a page in that was burned. And these guys accused her of blasphemy. And look at this. She spent 2 years in prison. She'd been waiting to go home. And now the magistrate said, yep, we find that the book is almost as good as new. In a pristine condition. There was nothing wrong. We don't find any evidence that she did that. She defiled the book or is guilty of blasphemy, and she's been set free. But again, same story. These men try to exploit her. So again, my message to Pakistani women is: don't trust anyone. If you're in Pakistan, please do not say anything about Islam from your real ID. You want to let it out, create a fake ID, use VPN, and then let loose on Muhammad. Or let us do your work. We will keep doing this. We will keep talking about you, but as long keep talking for you. But as long as you're in Pakistan, don't commit blasphemy, because these numbers are going to increase. How do you find this news story, Nuria?
Yeah, well, obviously, as you said, like it's really, really distressing. It was only recently we were sat here talking about the Priyanka Kumara situation, and I think all of us were of the opinion that this is now a massive wake-up call, and it's a watershed moment, and Pakistan really needs to reflect and introspectively look at the laws it has in place. And the case that you just showed, I remember I actually had read that earlier, and I was so glad that right at the end they relied on the substantial evidence, which according to any reasonable person, it could tell they could tell that she had not burnt the book in any way with any malicious intent. It was most likely already in that condition before she was even reported to the police, because this is what this is turning into now. It's getting out of control. People are using this in a way where it's violence against women or violence against anybody you don't like. This is like the hashing out of personal vendettas. As you said, like, if you hate your neighbor, accuse them of blasphemy. You don't like your boss, accuse them of blasphemy. Like, a woman won't, accept your advances, accuse her of blasphemy. And obviously this is not just the case in Pakistan. It's just because, this is an issue here where these people, like Anika is 26. She has her entire life ahead of her. She's a young girl. She's a young Pakistani Muslim girl. She fits the bill. And as Horace said, this is now you locking your own people away, sentencing your own people to death. And, we know what this does to minorities and what it does to people who don't have the same weightage in Pakistani society. But now it's like, this is a personal, like, relationship issue that has gone out of hand, where men think again that they're this entitled to use these kind of like that point that Armin made is so true. I'm so scared now for how many girls could potentially, like, they must be thinking back and thinking about every single thing they've ever sent via WhatsApp, via social media. Nothing is safe. Every piece of communication you've ever had with somebody who you don't even trust in the slightest, or somebody you think you could trust with your whole life, could upturn your life in a second. And as you said, they're not actually carrying out the death punishments, thankfully, which, is a lot to do with international pressure and things like that. But that's no different from spending your entire life rotting away in jail. And a further point to that, which is really, really, that this thought scares me even more, and this is a horrible thing, but this is how low Pakistan has sunk, that I honestly think for the time being, she's actually probably safer in jail than if she were to be let out, because we all know what happens when a blasphemy charge is given in Pakistan. The mob is behind it. They don't care about evidence. They don't care about the burden of proof. They don't care about establishing things beyond a reasonable doubt. They don't care and understand that blasphemy in
That's okay. Keep going.
They don't understand that blasphemy in 2022 is just a ridiculous concept. And now, like I'm saying, this is waging a whole nother level of violence against women, or violence against anybody that you don't like. And it's a completely victimless crime. The only person this so-and-so crime is offending is a prophet who was dead long, long ago. So the only crime, if you can even call it that, is hurting somebody's feelings and sentiments. And the hurting of somebody's feelings and sentiments does not warrant death or a lifetime spent rotting in prison. Literally, this girl has her entire life ahead of her. And if we stand here and do absolutely nothing, whether it's something as simple as a petition that we're trying to get rotating on Twitter just so it garners the attention of the international world, that's all we can do, quite frankly. And that is our responsibility, to make sure that the global world now, the international stage, is aware of what Pakistan does and does to its own citizen, and the tiny levels of the burden of proof that they require to be able to carry out these punishments and dish them out wherever they see fit. It's not on anymore, and they cannot expect to be part of the progressive modern world with this kind of attitude and these kind of laws still in place, and the fact that people's sentiments are hurt. This young girl is having her entire life snatched away. And obviously we talked about Priyantha Kumara, but on that same note as well, this is not just a very kind of like dark law that affects Pakistan. This goes across the board to other Muslim countries as well. We see this in Egypt, where we talk about Sharif Gabo quite a lot. We shared the issues of that Somali atheist who's hiding in Egypt. We know people in the UAE go there and are detained because they've said something as well that's caught them in the same trap. And the same thing in Saudi Arabia as well. I just show you guys a couple of other cases. Same thing. Student and journalist Sayed Pervez Kambakhsh sentenced to death for sharing women's rights info.
Wow.
So he was a 23-year-old student and journalist, and he was charged with blasphemy and sentenced to death, Horace, for downloading and sharing a report about women's rights in Islam. Mate, if they checked my history and I was in a country like this, I would be long dead.
Well, I think we would be long dead.
Yeah,
we
but
would be
all
long
he
dead.
did
But these
was
guys
download a report. He's not even made a
rights.
conclusive opinion either way. He's downloaded a report and he's just distributed it amongst his peers. And look at the crime, intending to trigger conversation and debate, as if that's like unprogressive for society. But anyway, someone filed a complaint, they were offended, oh boo-hoo, their feelings were hurt. And this poor man was handed, he was tried without representation, as they usually are, and handed the death penalty in January 2008. Similar
But the
thing.
point
Yeah,
here is,
yeah.
Nuria, the point here is this happened in Afghanistan when Afghanistan was supposedly liberated. There was this coalition government supported by the coalition, supported by the United States. That's when it happened to him. That just shows you the attitude of Muslims towards this. While their prophet, look at this one, Sahih al Bukhari 4123. The prophet said to Hassan, abuse them with your poems, and Gabriel is with you. The archangel Gabriel is with you, i.e., he supports you. Now, that was being said on the day of Banu Qurayza when it was besieged. And then later on, we all know what happened with Banu Qurayza. This is what happened on the day of Banu Qurayza. Those whose pubic hair had grown were killed, and those whose pubic hair had not yet grown were let go. Now, this guy who's telling the story was one of the lucky ones whose pubes hadn't grown yet. No woman was killed on the day of Banu Qurayza except one. Now, this is some brave woman, and I think some 1400 years later, Nuria, you and I, we need to salute her bravery. There are some old footages from Russian Revolution era when whites and Soviets were fighting with each other. Then there's one video clip where this guy is taunting the Reds. He was from the counter-revolution. He was a counter-revolutionary, and he's cursing them. It's like, yeah, well. And he's standing, and he's just in front of a firing squad. He's just about to be shot, and he's like smiling and he's cursing. This reminded me of that guy. And then seconds later, we could see he was shot and killed and fell in the grave that he had dug up himself. So this woman, she was with me, talking and laughing on her back and belly, meaning extremely, while the Messenger of Allah was killing her people. Wow, this is a merciful prophet. Look how it is described in their own books. This is a Sahih, this is a Hasan Hadith, Sunan Abi Dawud, and obviously the messenger killing, that's the Sahih part in so many other hadiths as well. 700 Jews were killed. There's no disagreement in the Muslim scholarship anyway. So while the Messenger of Allah was killing her people with the sword, suddenly a man called her name. Hey, where is so-and-so? She said, I asked, what is the matter with you? She said, I did a new act. I don't understand what this means. I did a new act. I don't know.
Yeah,
But anyway.
I don't get that either. Anyway.
She said, the man took her and beheaded her. So she said, now Aisha is saying, I will not forget that she was laughing extremely, although she knew that she would be killed. Because Aisha, that woman was a brave woman. Maybe she was not in a sound mind at that point.
Yeah, it seems that way. That could have been.
But also look at this. So let's just say if she had lost her mind, she was then what is a punishment? You behead her? She's the only woman who was beheaded. And if she wasn't beheaded, if she hadn't lost her mind, she was like just taunting them, then that shows the merciful nature of religion. That yes, if you just say, I am not scared of you, Muhammad takes it personally and says, you're not scared of me? Okay, come over here. Oi, behead her. And then she was beheaded. That is the nature of this guy that these idiots believe in.
Yeah, and this is the person whose feelings and reputation they're defending when they're taking away the life of a girl who's living right now. This is the man that they're defending. And that's why it's like people just need to realize, people in Pakistan need to realize, especially the ones who are quiet on this issue. And obviously we know that they're quiet because, this is one of the most sensitive issues. Nobody's willing to talk about it and take it on because it's that sensitive. And taking a person's life, though, is literally more extreme than any spoken words. And that's just the baseline here. Because it's as simple as like all lives are sacred. The fact that you still have the death penalty and you have blasphemy enshrined, this is just going to lead to absolute disaster. How many more cases do they need to see where people are using it for their own personal gains? And also, it's not helped by the fact that Imran Khan is not like lending any progress to this at all. He really needs to stop using Islam to basically enrich his career and his life, because this whole case is like Anika is a victim of Pakistan's systematic corruption and abuse. This is how easily you can charge somebody with one of the severest crimes, i.e., blasphemy, and ruin their entire lives. This is how systematically flawed the government and institutions of Pakistan are.
As always, there's two types of Muslims. One who are saying, yes, well done, she committed blasphemy, hang her, blood, want blood on the cheek. The other kind is like, but our dearly beloved prophet was so nice. He never used to do this. I mean, this is being done in the name of the man who was mercy for all mankind, blah, blah, the deluded ones. The deluded ones. So this is what it is. So this Quranic verse was revealed. Whenever our verses are recited to them, they say, we have heard it already. If we wished to, we would say the same as this. These are only legends of the primitive legends by primitive people. So this Quranic verse was revealed by Muhammad. Obviously, Allah is Muhammad's fake ID. But guess what was the reason behind it? Because there was a guy called Nadir ibn Harith, that's been confirmed in the Tafsir of Kasir, and it's written in Tabri and Ibn Hisham, that he used to say, Muhammad, I can tell better tales of ancient people than Muhammad. Who by Allah has better tales to narrate? I or Muhammad? When Allah allowed the Muslims to capture Al-Nadir in Badr, the messenger of Allah commanded that his head be cut before him. And that was done, all thanks due to Allah. So for just saying that, hey man, what are you telling us? Like, we've already heard these stories of Noah and, the story of Joshua and all these stories. Actually, there's funny Joshua stories like this one. And we'll talk about that one, Joshua. And when Joshua was fighting, he prayed to God that, oh God, I need a little bit more time to defeat this army. So can you make the sun stay there a little bit?
Just
So
tell the sun to jam where it is.
Hang on, mate. Hang on. I'm not done with my battle yet. So it stood there for extra 3 hours or something. So this is in Joshua. Yeah, this is in the book of Joshua. Muhammad copied that as well. There's a Sahih hadith on that. So anyway, so this is what the guy Nadir ibn Haris said. He said, oh, and then for that, when he was captured, he was killed by Muhammad. That's not it. When he was killed, there was another person, Uqba. He was killed as well. Abu Afaq. He was killed as well. And Muhammad, he just wrote this poem: long have I lived, but never have I seen an assembly or collection of no abuse or anything, just pure criticism, a very polite academic criticism. So Muhammad said, who will get rid of this rascal for me? And then he was killed by Salim and Umar. Same thing happened with Asma bint Marwan. She was a woman, and she also was upset at the death of Abu Afaq, and she displayed disaffection, blaming Islam and his followers. So Muhammad said his favorite word: who will go and get rid of the daughter of Marwan for me? And then she was killed. In how she was killed is disputed. In Tabri and in Ibn Hisham, the accounts are a little bit different, but regardless, she was killed for simply criticizing your merciful prophet.
So obviously we can see it's clearly evident to see who set the precedent for silencing opposition, right? This is it. This is it in
Adolf Hitler. And then another one. This is another one. So look at this. Just on a side note as well, the barbarity of these people. Then he marched until he reached Rahua, when the Muslims met him, congratulating him and the Muslims on the victory God had given him. Salama bin Salama, so Asim bin blah, 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 these idiots, the companions of Muhammad, said, what are you congratulating us about? By God, we only met some bold old women like the sacrificial camels who are hobbled, and we slaughtered them. So the apostle, the merciful prophet, smiled and said, but nephew, those old, bold women were their chiefs. So, don't be so bad. You didn't just kill some bold, old women. There were some chief. They were their chieftains. Okay, anyway, so when the apostle was in Al-Safra, Al-Nadir was killed by Ali, as a learned Meccan told me. When he was in Iraqul Zabua, Uqba was killed. He had been captured by Abdullah. When the apostle ordered him to be killed, Uqba said, but, oh, merciful prophet, he tried to suck up to him, who will look after my children? And look at the person. merciful prophet, look what he said. He said, hell. He said, and Asim bin Habib, blah, 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 when God,
Savage.
yes, and killed him according to what Abu Uqba had said. By the way, this guy Uqba used to make
Ruthless.
fun of Muhammad when he was in Mecca. When Muhammad didn't have power, he actually once put intestines of sheep on him, and then Fatima removed them. So Muhammad, obviously, he was going to pay dearly for that insolence. Muhammad is no merciful prophet. He's not going to forgive you. He will hold this grudge for many, many years. And some 15, 16 years later, he was like, hell with you. I don't care about your children. So this is the evil character of this prophet, and they portray him as some really, really nice, wonderful, merciful prophet. No, he was like any other warlord. Look, don't get me wrong. Those guys might have done the same to him as well had he lost. But actually, I've been saying that, but I don't think that might be true, because at the Battle of Uhud, Kuffars won that war battle. Yeah, they did not take a single Muslim woman as a sex slave, Nuria.
Mm.
Isn't that something? They were like, yep, you know what? He's been humbled, he's been defeated. Hopefully he'll go and lick his wounds and never show his face again. But no, he came back. Came
Hmm.
back with vengeance. And again, they paid the price for not killing him. They should have killed him then and there.
Yeah. Also, I'm
Anyways,
also working on a video script, but I don't want to give too much away right now. But again, the mercy of the prophet, yeah, like this is one instance I found where he actually did like save the guy in the end, because somebody came to really like, you know, plea on his behalf. But as soon as they were gone from the vicinity, he literally looked at his companions and he's like, why did none of you kill him? And they were like, because we thought you forgave him. And he's like, no, you know, my intention was to kill him. And they were like, well, you should have given us a sign with your eye or your hand. And he's like, it does not befit me to give a sign. Like, you should just know
yeah,
what's in my head and kill him.
yeah.
So even
That's
when he
another one.
does forgive, it's literally, it's not even real forgiveness.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. So that guy was Saad ibn Sara. He was one of the
Mm,
scribes of Muhammad. So when Muhammad conveniently got a verse, this guy said, "How about you add the most benevolent or something at the end?" And Muhammad added that, and then he's like, "This guy is changing the Quran on my advice, and I'm not a
yeah.
good." So he
Actually
became the first
apostatized.
ex-Muslim.
Yeah.
Yeah, he became the first ex-Muslim, and he ran away. And then when Mecca was conquered, he went and hid in Uthman's house. Uthman was Muhammad's financier. So Uthman came. He said, "Come on, Prophet, just let him go." Muhammad was like,
Yeah.
all his companions around him. He's like, "Okay." So this is how coward he was. I've actually shared that story as well. That what would people say? This is the hypocrisy of Muhammad.
Again, from that story, like you're saying, so much is revealed in terms of like his hypocrisy, the way he treats people, the way he outwardly he's forgiving them. So you'd think the mercy of all mankind, the prophet who we were taught growing up was the mercy of all mankind, would genuinely from his heart of hearts forgive the man. Why? Because the only reason he wanted him dead anyway is because he's a direct threat to Muhammad and his credibility and the credibility of the Quran. So he really wanted him dead.
Yeah, I think that's where the story is mentioned. So order they should be killed with him. I kept silent. Yeah, that's the one. So it's the Life of Muhammad, page number 550. It's written in detail. Anyone who doesn't believe us, go and check it. So he's like, he was looking here and there, didn't have the courage to say to Uthman, sorry, he insulted me, he apostatized, I'm going to kill him. Didn't have the courage to do it. He's like, And then when Uthman went thinking that he's gone, forgiven, he's like, the guy's like, "Oh, you're so nice, dear prophet." He's like, "No, why did you not kill him? But you shouldn't have winked us."
Give the little signal. Practice it before. Yeah. 2 weeks
What a
means do it.
dickhead! What a dickhead! And they want us to respect this. Oh my! What a clown! Like such a clown got away with it. Anyway, so let's just wrap it up. So. Anika, guys, please go and fill out the form, sign the petition, and please get a Twitter account and tweet about it.
Yeah, I think it's at like 4,000 something right now. I think we need it to hit the 5K mark for it to actually garner a bit more like high level
Yeah,
intervention. So
yeah.
we're trying to aim for that and then anything else beyond. If you like these videos and want to support me in my activism, then you can support me on Patreon or PayPal. Stay free, everyone.